and I know you wanted to look at Grealish in particular, and I'm always happy to talk about our boy. Um, it was an interesting one, wasn't it? Because he's obviously had a period out injured. Again, he's had a very stop-start season, and I feel for him in that manner. It's always going to be hard to come off the back of such an excellent season last year, where City won the treble, and Guardiola had a lot to say to Grealish after the game, didn't he? Now, me knowing Grealish in the way that I think I do as a player, I know that one of the things he really talked about moving to Man City was working under Pep and really learning, because he wanted that footballing education. And he did seem to take what Guardiola was saying very well, I thought. He probably does listen to everything he has to say, but it felt a bit needless, didn't it, in the moment? And I wonder whether this is a sign of the beginning of the end for Jack Grealish at Man City. What do you think, Dave?
I don't know if it was frustrations boiling over, and he just took it out on Grealish at the time. To be honest, that's what it felt like, because there was a little bit of an argument there between, I think it was Gabriel was having a bit of a mouthing off to a couple of the Man City players, wasn't he?
Haaland.
Yeah. But yeah, I did actually commented on Twitter last night, and it's just, for me,
X
I think
Day,
when he
get with the
first
times.
on X, should I say?
Yeah, he was on X. Yeah,
and I basically said that I don't think Grealish is any better of a player now than what he was when he left Villa. I think he's evolved into a different player. He doesn't carry that fearlessness that he used to show running forward. He, was so direct running with the ball at players. You don't see it anymore, and he's just lost that unpredictability about him. And he'd actually mentioned it in an interview, hasn't he? Before, I think, in his mention about what Guardiola's obviously spoken to him about in training. He's gone through these periods of kind of almost being scared, not in that way of saying it, but being worried about doing something wrong that's not within his Pep's philosophy. And he doesn't get me on the edge of my seat anymore, Grealish, which is really sad to say, because when he had obviously that really solid season, he went through that period where we were just calling on Gareth Southgate, like, why is he not in your squad? And it just went so long for he was insistent in not getting him in there, and he eventually got him in there, and he came in the Euros. He came on. When he came on, there was a massive buzz around the stadium, so much excitement every time he's running with the ball. And he's just a completely different player for Man City. He's not the same player for me.
Is it too lazy a link to just say Villa get into the Champions League this year and over the summer he moves back? Or is it too soon? Or do you even think that it's the sort of player that Villa need right now, what Emery would go for? What do you think?
Well, I said to you, I think they're missing something on the left-hand side. There's just that balance. It's not quite there. And obviously you've kind of tried to play McGinn off the left side of that midfield at times this season. You've played, obviously, Jacob Ramsey as well, haven't you?
Yeah, and Rodgers now.
The thing for me is he's been, what, at Man City, is his third year now? 3 years?
Yeah, it is.
And he's been transformed into this player that he wasn't at Villa, let's be honest. You look at the stats that he had in that final year at Villa, I think it was 16 goals and assists. He's not in the league, that is, and I don't think he's been relatively close to matching that at Man City. He was seen it's definitely the profile of a player, I would say. He would have fit Liverpool or Man United better because of the way that they play in quick transitioning, obviously quick counters, attacking space, which obviously Man City like to control most part of their games. So it's they're in the whole part they're possession based, and I just feel as though his ceiling was so high, Jack Grealish, and I don't think he's ever going. I think the potential was that high. I think he could have achieved so much more on a personal level. I think he could have been such a better player than what he is.
I think that's harsh. I think he made the move to City. He's already got 2 league titles. He won the Champions League last year. And actually, I think it was quite influential last year. First season, it took him some time to settle, but he had a very good time of things at City last year. But I wonder if maybe for his own career, finding the right time to move on might be key. It's funny because the player he was at Villa, he needed to be that player. He was everything to that Villa squad. If he came into it now, he wouldn't be the only man there. It's a completely different atmosphere. And I wonder how well he would fit into that if that is something that materialises. I mean, I'll be honest, I'd snap your hand off. Of course I would. He's a phenomenal footballer. We know what talent he's got.
I think the difference is, what we've seen at City over these last few years, there's not been an individual superstar. Obviously, let's be honest,
Mm,
at times there's been stand-up players, De Bruyne, David Silva.
mm,
It's he's almost been that Riyad Mahrez type of player
mm,
he's not missed if he doesn't play because they've got
mm,
another player of the ilk or the
mm,
sort of quality to come
mm,
in and obviously replace him.
mm.
And I just feel as though he would have benefited from a manager who kind of put an arm around his shoulder
Trust
and
him.
just actually show him, like, just say,
Mm,
do you know how good you are? Because I think
mm.
he was on the verge of that at Villa,
Yeah.
and
Well,
he's just
Smith
not
definitely
got.
did that for him.
He doesn't have the freedom that I think he'd like to
Mm,
show, and take
mm.
risks like he wouldn't like to. I think in his game at City as
Yeah.
he probably would elsewhere.